A pleasure, sir.
It is our pleasure. Okay. Let me start with you, Dennis. Give me your overview, because immediately any initiative, any policy will have its commentators, and immediately some have said that maybe merging won't be enough. But it is a significant step, isn't it? The idea of the Kano State government to merge up to 359 schools. Give me your impressions on the idea.
Thank you, Yori. I'm really very happy anyway, because this is what we have been proposing. And I think it happened in Borno State, but the extent of which Kaduna State is taking it now, I think is very, very credible. And I hope that they succeed.
Okay.
Right now, that was actually part of the Safe School initiative that has been proposed over the years.
Yes,
State
Schools Protection Squad.
Yes,
that's
now they have also brought... Hello, are you with me?
Yes, please continue.
Now they have also brought the School Protection Squad. Now, that is where I have a little problem, because these people, are they well trained? Who are they? Are they from the police, army, or a joint task force? Can they stand 200 bandits on motorcycles that can invade a school? These are the kinds of things that we need to know. Or maybe it's in the plan, and because of security reasons, they might not put it out there. But that School Protection Squad must be well trained and must be prepared enough to deal with the problem.
Well, okay. Well, that, as a starter, that's fine. So, Tony, as you might well know, one of the problems, one of the issues with all of this is that in the 2022-2023 year, Kano witnessed a reduction of up to 200,000 children enrolling for schools, giving some indication as to the scale of the problem. Give me your impressions too on this idea that if we merge schools, maybe, I don't know how that's going to work out, but they merge them for convenience. They will now relocate them to safer areas within the state. Your thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Uncle Yari, thank you very much, and thank you. The MON, I want to say good morning. Having said so, you know, that was one of the things that came to my mind. Logistically, it's going to be a tall order because you are taking of children that stays within a particular locality. Are relocating them to where? What is the distance between where they are staying and where they are being relocated to? Now, you would have, like you said, what will happen at the end of the day is that some of the children may lose interest in furthering their education. Some parents may not be interested or willing to release their children from, you know, to a location that is too far from where they are. Now that becomes a major problem too, and understandably too. Having said this, the issue will not be the place you are relocating these children to, like the MON said. What is the security level that have been put in place in those schools to the extent that if there are attacks, there will be formidable resistance? Now, you also have the intelligence network. Have you been able to put all this in place? Or just because you want to just play to the gallery? Because at the end of the day, you are talking of people that will come in their hundreds when they want to operate on an abduction level, to abduct school children and all. We have seen it play out in Kangara, we have seen it play out in Gandapchi, we have seen it play out in many places and all those stuff like that. So if Kaduna State government is doing this, then they should be able to convince us that truly what they are doing now, they've been able to put the necessary security machinery in place. I am aware that the Inspector General of Police actually brought out this initiative, and they have the Safe School Squad and the like for the sake of school protection, which is a good one. But the challenges that I'm envisaging is, one, what is the level of the manpower? What is the level of the financing? Because this project, this initiative of the Inspector General of Police came after budgets. Now, to what extent are they able to finance this initiative? Because this is an initiative that is mandatorily going to be driven, if it's going to be successful, on the platform of more of technology.
Okay.
Yes, more of technology.
When we talk technology, straight away we're going into intelligence as a major.
Very well. Intelligence, yes. Intelligence and intelligence and intelligence.
Yeah.
And you are talking of a situation where you'll be able to have even drones that will do more of surveillance. Because these are not the terrains that is in the metropolitan city and all those stuff like that. Some of these schools we are talking about, they're in far places. And don't forget that...
Maybe wasn't that a weakness? Because they were in these far-flung places, they became sort of easy targets as opposed to when you bring them all...
I agree with you.
To a closer proximity.
I agree with you. But you also consider the challenge of these children being able to... Except government is saying that we are going to house all these children.
Okay.
Except are saying that you want to put all of them in boarding and it will be 100% your responsibility. In the absence of that, I can assure you that at least 30% of the children will drop out. And
that's one of the problems that they are hoping to stem. Dennis, let me come back to you. Tony had expressed concern about hoping that it had been as well thought out as it could be, and that it wasn't some usual talk. But I'm sort of encouraged, and I don't know what you think, by the fact that the governor in Kano State unveiled this whole idea at a sort of a forum. The theme of the forum was capacity building, strengthening security resilience and integration of host communities into the protection of education, which goes directly to Tony's concerns, that what are the assets, the resources that we can bring to bear to make a success of this. With your wealth of experience, your thoughts on that particular concern?
Thank you, Yori. You see, it is not as easy as said. Dr. Tony has said it all, because when you come to look at the nitty-gritty, the details of this particular project, it's more involved than ever. We don't want a situation where they have just announced something, just like Amotekun. Remember when Amotekun came, and the announcement was that they are going to now deal with all these unknown gunmen and all kinds of people that are around in the area. And of course, we zeroed down to normal again. I don't want a situation where we are now congregating 359 schools. And of course, like the question you asked, 359 schools relocated. And of course, maybe I don't know how many schools they are going to group together, but all these schools must have the Safe School Initiative measures placed in them. And these measures are not just ordinary bring them together. Number one, like you were saying, they must be in boarding school. Mm-hmm. Because you cannot bring them and leave. Where are you going to leave them? With an uncle near the school? No, they are going to be boarding schools, all of them. And they have to be given all the measures. And of course, the measures, remember, one, access control, perimeter fencing. You have to fence all those schools, put access control, and then, of course, surveillance, cameras, all these things have to be put in place. And now it becomes very, very important also that you have to train these people this schools protection squad must be trained, because they cannot just be even mopols or even soldiers hanging around the distance. There must be a special training to respond to this kind of problem. You know, like I said, if 200 bandits are coming on motorcycle, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
These are the drills. These are the drills that must take place, you know, before you say that, yes, you have secured that school. And then, of course, there must be a communication system, a reliable communication system that will also call on, you know, the either a standby military or police force that is sitting down there ready to respond, because that is how they will come and pack all of them and take away, and then nobody will, you know, will come and make political statements at the school. So when you are congregating these people, it is very, very important. And then one most important aspect of the Safe School Initiative is community engagement, which must be done with the community in which all these schools that are congregated have to be kept. So intelligence is very, very key. And of course, the information coming to them, to the security squad or to the whichever response team is very, very key. Otherwise, we are just trying to do a TV or photo ops, you know, make political statements and said we are going to do it.
And that's not going to cut it at all. Tony, how would you, Governor Uba Sani, you know, speaking through his chief of staff who represented him at the event, he did speak about commending the federal government for its 144.8 billion naira fund launch, you know, for this safe schools, you know, financing plan in 2022. I'll give an assessment of that kind of an initiative, because we're talking about, as you know, how people say, Obet, Odon, so no, all of this is going to cost money. How would you evaluate or assess the 144.8 billion naira Safe School Financing Plan of 2022 as launched by the federal government initiative?
Well, in fairness to the president and the present government, they really mean well in that perspective. It's not a subject of debate. So far, so well, we see a government that once they promise, they release the money like almost immediately. But those that will execute this project are always the challenge, because the president is not going to be everywhere at the same time. His own is to say, okay, he has approved this. Those that are going to be the protagonists of the project should go and execute it accordingly. So for me, it's a good one.
Yeah, but this being an urgent project, we're talking about security, we're talking about our children. I recognize what you said about the way government usually goes, but do you think there won't be an exception for this because of the dire urgency?
I don't. The issue of exception is not even the major thing now, as far as the Safe School Initiative is concerned. The initiative is not even talking about relocating children from where they are.
No.
It's talking about protecting them where they are. Because if you ask me, my first reaction was not that of commendation. I'm sorry to say it, because I saw it as a defeatist movement, you know, because I was looking at a situation where if you have this initiative, you have this funding, it's a matter of strategizing rather than approach it from a defeatist. What the government has succeeded in doing, consciously or unconsciously, is to create more ungoverned space in Kaduna State. That's my own understanding of duty. Yes, by moving those schools from there, you create more ungoverned space. You also give this impression that you are helpless. There is little or nothing you can do. Psychologically, it has its own boomeranging effect, even on the people and on the students, wherever you want to take them to. But because the safe initiative is to the extent that wherever you are in the Federal Republic of Nigeria as a student, you must be safe. You must have this sense of safety in you.
That's the ideal.
Yes, that's the ideal.
ideal.
And that's the idea. And that is what we expect that the Kaduna state government should pursue. And one of the best way to pursue it is to pursue the adversary. Not this. You don't run for the adversary. You pursue the adversary. Kaduna state has have its own fair share of terrorism and all those stuff like that. Now, unfortunately, over the years, Kaduna state has not been able to come all out with all its itinerary, all its might against terrorism in that state. You are talking of a state that at the time was even paying bandits, paying terrorists to ensure safety. Now you have decided that you are not going to pay. That was under the former governor, El-Rufai.
Yes.
Now you decided you are not going to pay. It's as boomerang. What do? You put the terrorists on the run. Because if you are not putting them on the run, what you are saying is that, they, like the MON said, if they are coming in 200 motorbikes, to what extent are you able to resist? Because when they come in 200, don't forget that each of the bike will take at least 2 or 3 of them. So you are talking of a team of 400. And when they are going to abduct the children, they will just sandwich one in their middle. So that means they have the capacity of taking a minimum of 200 at a go. To what extent are we able to, put machineries in motion?
Well, I hear you, Tony. And coming back to you, Dennis, the scenario Tony painted is if they could operate unchallenged. And the point that Governor Uba Sani was making, he was emphasizing that there was a need, as both you gentlemen have said, there is a need for the capacity of the armed forces to be upgraded. He said this is just nothing is going to happen without any of that. So that the logical example that Tony has just drawn, I would certainly hope that these people are not able to attack unchallenged. Take the example he gave for illustration. You come, I think you started it with the hypothetical number of 200, and look at the capacity for damage. Look at the capacity for abduction. If they could operate unchallenged as they have been able to do in the past. Hopefully, those are the kind of things that the governor was emphasizing must not be allowed to happen this time around.
Yes, I think that is the crux of the matter. That's the crux of the matter. Tony has put it all succinctly. Because when you look at it, we are still not addressing the root causes of this problem. We are just trying to deal with the symptoms. Number one question, who are these bandits? Why are they in our ungoverned spaces? Why are we allowing them in those ungoverned spaces? As long as we allow them within our boundaries, we will continue running around. Now we are congregating the students in 359. We are relocating them.
Yes.
When they start attacking those ones, then we are going to reshuffle again, and then they will keep on marauding.
Which goes back to what Tony was saying, that we are inadvertently, maybe unconsciously, projecting a state of weakness if they are able to push us around in this way.
I agree totally, because right now it's like we are running. And that is what exactly I have been saying over the years. Pursue these bandits. Pursue these bandits. We don't allow them to take hostages. Then we start negotiating, and then they pack a lot of money, go and give them. They use it and party, and then, of course, give their financiers the rest, and then come back again. We are too soft-handed, kids' glove with them. What we need to do is to put them on the hot run, on the hot seat, so that they are told, if they take it will be difficult. In fact, they will think twice before they come and, kidnap children, because when they know that they are going to be attacked or they are going to be pursued, the fight is going to be brought to them, then we are heading towards somewhere.
Okay.
But if we don't, we are going to, continue turning around and around, and they are also planning their own, because they said, oh, okay, remember when the military was trying to bring out the super camps? Where they moved all the military people in Borno State, put them in a super camp, and they attacked it because they know that, okay, they are all here, so let's do it. Yeah. So we have to think this, and go back to the root causes and nip it in that bud, because these people cannot be allowed to continue staying in this country.
Indeed. You know what Dennis just said there, it sort of reminded me that it's not generally thought to be the smart thing to do to put so many vulnerable assets, in this case people, children, in an area where you could strike and do the most damage as opposed to when they are much more scattered. But then again, they're being much more scattered opens them up to the vulnerability of being far away from, for instance, places like, organs like the School Protection Squad or the Inspector General of Police. Let's look at that Schools Protection Squad. As you were saying, this was an initiative originally by the police and Inspector General of Police. Can the police handle this? In fact, I want to give you a two-pronged question. Part of it is what Tony spoke about, where the way we are, quote-unquote, being pushed around by these ne'er-do-wells, it's indicative of the suffer approach that we seem to be adopting. You know, now, before then, a lot of people, in frustration, had said, what is this all about? We have superior firepower. We have superior training in the police, in the army. But it would appear, we used to say that all through the Shagari regime, that the men in uniform they operate according to the instructions and commands that they are given. That's true. What is the problem with this zero tolerance command coming out?
I think basically the challenge basically is that of the political will.
Political will, okay.
Yes, Segon. You see, like you rightly identified.
Sorry, before you continue, Tony, I beg your pardon. Let me just take Balogun, who has called in from London. Good morning, Mr. Balogun.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in, sir. Good morning.
Hello, Uncle Yori.
Good morning. We can hear you.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Very interesting topic you have today. First of all, sir, with due respect to the gentleman in Mr. Tony in your studio,
yes,
he's apportioning blame on the state. Maybe, if I don't understand him, I'm part of place. Apportioning blame to the state, I don't know what Mr. Tony wants the state to say or to do at this very time. Because if you check some of the states, what they are even doing to the police, to the army, buying equipment for them, which is not their constitutional right to do, and they are doing it. So I don't know what Mr. Tony wants them to do. That's on one hand. Again, we have to have changed the method of schooling. Method of schooling in the sense that we will go to open schools. But these days, because of security, people have changed the method of their schools. Before you have access into schools, there are so many codes. The ones that are little one in the primary schools, you have to have an identity before you can take any child out. So many things to be done.
Mr. Balogun, I fear, Mr. Balogun, Mr. Balogun,
I think they've tried their best,
Mr. Balogun,
to my own knowledge.
Mr. Balogun, I hope you are not taking primary schools in the UK as a model. I hope you still remember the way we are. I don't know if you
I remember. I went to that school. I did school in this country. I did school in this country. I did my primary, secondary school and university in that country. I did school here. But what I'm saying is that we're supposed to have changed the method now that we are facing this insecurity. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right, then. Well, thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Balogun. His question is, so what does Dr. Ofoyetan, what does he want government to do?
No, we're actually not passing blame on anybody. It's a solution-finding venture. So
yes, it is. Yes, it
and what we are looking at to ensure that this initiative is a successful initiative. The police safe school initiative, for example, you know, we're talking about it before the Pleasant call came in. And, you know, I said, look, it's not as if the military, the police don't have superior firepower. But, you know, I've said this thing severally in this studio that you consider the role of sleeper cell in counter-terrorism. Sleeper cell are people that are sympathetic to the cause of terrorists. And they could be in high places. It could be governor, it could be minister, it could be House of Rep and the like. They are sympathetic to their cause. And because of that, they give them information, first-hand information. That's why you see issues like ambushment being successful and the like. They also give strategic opinion and all those stuff like that. And when there are policies and rules that will be made to ensure that terrorists are out of the road, you see them coming all out with their might, with their power against all those.
Because
yes. Now, if you can't remember anything, you remember President Goodluck Jonathan, who said that Boko Haram was in his government. At least he was fair enough to admit that. After that, successive governments have not been able to admit that, even though we know that, of course, they are still there, so to say, you know, sympathizers to the cause. And that is why you will see people with different opinion about whether to go kinetic or to go non-kinetic. Now, when you want to talk about kinetic approach, you know, to counter terrorism, you will see people will come with all their might, with all their force and the like. And we keep saying that, look, if you want to talk about negotiation and we all sit on the negotiation table, who is going to be the principal partner or who is going to lead the negotiation? Because negotiations are better led by the one that has been able to establish his own superiority. Is it the federal government or is it Boko Haram? Now, if you have a round table meeting and you have to talk about negotiation, if Boko Haram say, to hell with your negotiation, do they have any reason to be petrified that there will be their consequence? I hope you understand. Now, if they don't, that means that you now have to establish your supremacy on the battlefield before coming to non-kinetic. Now, these are things that, you know.
This is where you began to speak about the political will to do the needful
very well
earlier. But Mr. George has been holding on for a while, so let me bring him in. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. My greetings to Tony and Mr. Amakri. On a lighter note, Uncle Yori, Mr. Amakri is looking younger if my eyes are not deceiving me since he relocated.
Don't mind Dennis Ojari. I told him to spend a little time there. Come back here. Come back into the sun here.
To run away. So,
he's one of the jackpots.
Coming to the point of discussion today, Uncle Yori.
Yeah.
I sympathize with the state governors who are resorting to relocating schools to the urban centers because they are not in charge of the army. They don't have a security outfit of their own to deal with these bandits. The question is, how long can that be done? And how long can we sustain that? Does it even bring the desired result? I've been listening to the contributions by Dr. Tony and Mr. Mankri. But what baffles me is, up till now, the government seems to be reluctant in taking the battle to these good-for-nothing people. If you are running away, they will keep on pursuing you. Take the battle to them in a concerted form.
Indeed.
I believe our military has what it takes. And they can do it if they want to do it. But why are we not doing that? Surround them and pursue them from different directions. They are the ones to be running.
Indeed.
Not we running for them.
Not we running from them.
Not we running for them.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. George, for calling in. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back to continue with this conversation.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. Unlabeled to believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. Unlabeled are ensure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
Welcome back. We're having a conversation over issues surrounding Kaduna State's initiative idea to merge 359 schools and then relocate them over Insecurity. With us this morning, we got Dennis Amakere. Mr. Amakere, M-O-N, is a security consultant. He joins us remotely. And in studio here, Dr. Tony Ofoyeton, DG, International Institute of Professional Security, in our Lagos studio with me here. Dennis, let me come to you because we're talking about this whole question of the political will. That Tony has said that it all goes back to this matter of the political will to do the needful. And we've been grappling with this concept for a while. George, calling in from Lagos, touched on it as well. So how do you understand the difficulty that this political will, so-called, to bring maximum resistance on rain it down on these ne'er-do-wells? What's the big problem there? What is the issue to your mind?
Thank you very much, Jerry, for this question. It is very clear. In Africa, or let me put it in West Africa, the Nigerian military is one of the best. And they are very, very capable. The police itself, if well trained, can do wonders. When they travel outside the country, they do a lot. But when we are here trying to face this kind of situation, we are playing kid's glove with it. Remember the Kaduna State governor who said that these people should, after paying the bandits, and then of course they were not coming to an agreement, he now suggested that he's not going to pay again. And remember, the whole schools were closed down, and then he suggested that we should carpet bomb. We should carpet bomb the bandits. Yes, we can do that. But the point is that when the military goes ahead to do that, they are a formal and formal military, and they cannot do that because there are international laws that are bounding them. Remember the Tucano jets that we wanted to buy before? And the issues surrounding it, we cannot carpet bomb people because the collateral damage is going to be high. Now, the political will of dealing with these particular bandits, why are we allowing them? Even President Buhari himself has said it, that these guys are not Nigerians. And if they are not Nigerians, why are we not sending them back? Why are we instead allowing some people to come and negotiate to see whether we can accommodate them in Nigeria while they are doing all this harm? And of course, This is not a religious issue because these guys are not just Islamic jihadists or whoever. They are terrorists and they are bandits who have been busy killing people, both Christians and Muslims and Northerners, and even going down south and doing whatever they like because we don't have the political will to drive them out of this country. And I think we need to get that. We need to gather that political will, and I think that will be the game changer for us.
Okay. Tony, since you were going to speak on this political will issue when a phone call came in and truncated that a bit, although you did speak to it. Now, this political will, well, Tony just explained there, where does the political will issue come up? If it's religion, these people are not religionists. They have been, denied by, formalized Islamic institutions that these ones are not Muslims. These are bandits, these are criminals, these are terrorists. Then, as was pointed out, the former president has said that they're not even Nigerians. So where is this, the ordinary man who doesn't know too much of international security and international diplomacy, you say, are these not enemies? So why are we shy to hit the enemies?
Well, they are a combination of Nigerians and foreigners. We cannot say that they are all foreigners. Some of them are Nigerians.
Are those ones not enemies of the state?
Of course, they are enemies of the state. Like I said, the truth is that it will take Mr. President to decide to do the needful, irrespective of whose or is God. And that's just the only way out.
Does this go back to the sleeper cells thing you were talking about?
Yes, you see,
lest we go and be hitting some of our own compatriots.
You see, at the end of the day, terrorism is a well-organized, world violent group. You are talking of people that are, the ISWAP, they are affiliated to the ISIS, the Ansaru affiliated to the Al-Qaeda, and these two groups are right in this country. One predominantly in the northwest, one predominantly in the northeast. And they all operate within the terrain of the country called the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So it's not as if the DSS don't have the full dossier. It's not as if NSA don't have the full dossier. But the only thing is, Mr. President, is he ready to give that, wear that toga of Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and instruct the service chiefs and give them ultimatum? Now, the military, they are capable of causing the type of havoc that even Joe Biden will hear. And that is just the truth. But like the MON said, a lot of maybe international considerations and the like. But you can still weather all these considerations. Once Mr. President says, wipe away this set of people, give them the necessary equipment, they will wipe them away. Okay. But the only thing is also looking at it from the perspective of international infiltration into our country. Now you should be able to nexus it to those who are their foreign sponsors. We have domestic collaborators, the greedy Nigerians that are working with foreigners to cause crisis in this country. Now, look, that's just a truism. Well, if you go to Zamfara, the gold mine there, you understand what I'm talking about. You remember that recently the federal government had to revoke more than 900 mining licenses and the like, all because of some of these things. If you go to Oyo State, you will see foreigners there. What is happening in Plateau State is struggle for natural resource of the country. At the end of the day, who are those that are foiling this crisis? Foreigners that deeply involved in foiling terrorism in this country. But it will take the audacity of Mr. President to say enough is enough, wipe away those that ought to be wiped away, imprison those that ought to be imprisoned, deport those that ought to be deported. As many embassies that are participants, criminals, should be closed down.
Well,
it is going to take such hard decisions.
That's what a lot of Nigerians, especially innocent, you might even say naive ones, would expect that this is the most logical thing. But you also did manage to, indicate in there that these things are not as simple as all that.
Of course they are not.
They're very complex. Mazi Okoroafo, let me thank you for holding on all that while. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, again. Now, you see, all these groups we are talking about, whether it's the need or bring them or not bring them back. The question is this. You remember when Boris Johnson came to Nigeria, in the paper presentation, that was in Lagos, he said, whether any group will call them bandits, what they want to call, all of them are what? Terrorists. And terrorists, according to Nigerian constitution, they have way they did that. There's no time to start quoting the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, logically. The government should treat them that way. But the question is that, if you check very well, statistics have shown, or record of the research have shown that most of these people, many of them are foreigners. Foreigners will sue Nigeria. That's what I mean by sue Nigeria. The indigenous, the son of the soil, poor Nigerians are a person of this sin. Now, tell me, how did those foreigners find their way into Nigeria? How did they come to settle that in Nigeria? How did they manage to know all these places where all these raw materials that are of high quality, of high quantity are there? It is people that we did that show them. You know, at that early stage, that is the victory. But my people were just talking about the number of nationalists. That when they recruit them, they are being paid 300,000 naira as salary a month. Now, you know what it means? For you to come in and follow somebody and enter bush and pay 300,000 naira. Why won't you join? These are the stories that was 10 years ago, 9 years ago. But the question is this, man. These people have come to settle that they have capitalized all these raw materials, all these natural resources, and they are now balanced there, enjoy comfortably. And whereas the owners of the property are just living life, kind of life, which is not healthy. The question or the answer is this. Government should treat them according to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is the only solution. Everybody talking about it. That is why Israel and Hamas this. People are complaining that the way Israel is doing what they are doing. Some are supporting Israel, some are against Israel, some are supporting Hamas, some are supporting them. You see, they are taking decisive action about their own because they don't want this thing to continue. That is why Israel is saying that they are going to level everything in that part of the world. That when they level it, they now sit down and now see before another one will migrate. At least those people will become, many of them have gone, and some of them have gone. That is it. But here is that we continue accommodation, creating problem for people who are indigenous of the state, creating problem for farmers, creating problem for states, creating problem for community, there's no development of all those areas where this is. Do you know what's happening right now? Many children are afraid to go to school. Do you know that one? People should investigate. And many children now are now going to this issue of this mining.
Yeah.
Leaving school to go and do mining was say there's cheap money there. I start asking them, where is cheap money there? Do you know how many the money will last? Okay. Even the money when you go and collect, you're not making sure you just take it and go and smoke and take with a soup and relax. That matter end. That's the type of life you want to live. Where they're telling you to go to school and acquire education. So that's government should follow constitution and treat those people. Good morning. Mazi Okoroafo from Irish.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okoroafo. Just to remind that all of this is coming about because of the, shall we say, the resolve of the Kaduna state government, as stated at the recent forum, to ensure the uninterrupted education of its children, of its young people, amidst the knowledge that up to 200,000 less children actually enrolled. Going back to what Mazi has just said, that these people probably are going to other areas. And we've been speaking about what are the issues. And any way you look at it, this whole matter about, that's where we talked about the political will to do the needful and it not being as simple as many people might think. But it then becomes, how sustainable is this, our gentle, gingerly handling this problem because of the reasons that you gentlemen have stated, particularly Tony, that there are far and wide implications. But I don't know, it does look as if we, that is Nigeria, corporate we, are being pushed around and at a very, very high cost because our children are the people suffering. And so that's the whole idea behind Kaduna's mind, so to speak, as stated by Governor Uba Sani recently, speaking through his chief of staff, who was representing him at the event. So we have a big problem on our hands. And Tony, Dennis, there are other problems. This is not going to be cheap. I think you mentioned it. Schools have to be fenced. Task forces have to be equipped. Are you going to board them for increased security? Can we afford all of that? So many problems, but at least Kaduna is speaking up and saying that we acknowledge that we have a problem and we want to address it. It's just that I think what both you gentlemen have been saying all morning is, well, it's a very good and a laudable one, but there are challenges that you seem to have indicated you are fearful of their being met for this to be a success. Would that be right in that categorization, Dennis? You're fearful that...
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. There is the fear that we will not be able to bring this project to a final end. You know, I don't want it to hang in the air. You know, when we start a project, we should be able to follow it properly and then execute it to a success. But like we earlier discussed, you know, there are a lot of things to be done. There are a lot of things to be done.
And none of them easy. None of them easy.
It's not easy at all. Now you said 359 schools are going to be congregated. How many are we going to get? How many of them are going to be put in the different places? You know, and
how well would that go down with their families?
Yes, and how are we going to secure them? Because are we going to now put the Safe School initiative around those schools that they are going to bring together? You know, are you boarding them? Are you going to provide the manpower that will be well trained to resist any kind of aggression? And I will come back to the political will issue now. You know, so what are we doing? Because, you see, we cannot be running haphazardly. It has to be systematic, where we have to put these things in place and make sure that we are actually following it to the end. Because, like I said, we don't want political statements. When we make political statements and we don't follow up on it, just to placate people and leave it there up in the air, I don't think it's going to solve this problem for us.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Dennis. Mr. Dennis Amakre, MON, joined us this morning from the United States. Thank you very much, Tony, as always, for joining us and giving us the benefit of your insight on these matters. Tony, well, you said it all, as has been said. There's the desire, but feeding that desire ought to be the ability to achieve all those things that will be necessary for that desire to see the light of day. And I guess we have to give them credit for good intentions. The rest now, we have to wait and see, probably.
I wish the states the best of all, and I wish them success. But I can assure you that it's going to be more expensive.
Then,
because you are talking of having to warehouse the primary school for 6 years and the secondary for another 6 years. So an average child who is going to be for 12 years under the, the warehousing of the state government. I just pray and hope that they will have the finance to sustain it and not just get to a certain level and be stuck, and you now begin to pester the parents, and before you know what's happening, the essence of that is defeated. Go back to square one. So they should convince themselves that it is a policy they want to stand by all through. Alternatively, let them ask the military to give them teachers in each of those schools. Let the military teach, and at the same time, do security work.
Thank
as
you.
simple as that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tony Ofoye,
pleasure.
For coming on the program. It's been very clear, and I think the authorities are also listening, that it is doable, but do we have the commitment to achieve what we have outlined here? And, the governor, he said that security forces must hold regular meetings with elders, religious leaders, and representatives of youth and women. In other words, all must be on board so that we can achieve this. So once more, thank you very much, Tony.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Indeed, thank you. And our thanks also to Dennis Amakri, MON security consultant, who was also on the program. Well, that's our program today. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folari. Bye-bye for now.
There is always more to a story than the scrimmage line. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Akiwande Oluwole Soyinka was born on 13th July 1934 in Abeokuta, Nigeria, to parents Samuel and Grace Soyinka. His education began with the Christian lessons of his parents as well as the more traditional Yoruba spiritual customs taught to him by his grandfather. He had his preparatory university studies at Government College Ibadan in 1954, subsequently University College Ibadan, and he continued at the University of Leeds, earned a bachelor's degree in English literature. Soyinka's master's degree focused on projects combining his Yoruba culture with traditional British theatre traditions. He later returned to school in Nigeria to study African theatre, during which time he continued to produce poems and plays, one of which appeared on Nigerian television. Shortly after, he became the chief of the Cathedral of Drama at the University of Ibadan. Nigeria had only recently gained independence from Britain and political corruption was at a high. Soyinka's plays and poems became increasingly political and he began giving speeches protesting government corruption. He was accused of conspiring with the Biafra rebels. He was therefore arrested and imprisoned in 1967 for almost 2 years during the Civil War, but managed during his time to write numerous poems. He was finally released in 1969 after a brief period in France. He returned to his position at the university where he founded the magazine Black Orpheus. He left his position and Nigeria in 1971, wary of the political climate of the country. During this time, he published books of poetry and essays. His plays were collected and published, and newer plays were staged. In 1986, he was the first African to win the Nobel Prize in Literature for a wide cultural perspective and with poetic overtones fashioning the drama of existence. He dedicated his acceptance speech to Nelson Mandela and used the platform to criticize apartheid. Later that same year, Soyinka was awarded the Ajib Prize and in 1988 published his book Mandela's Earth and other poems as well as art, dialogue, and outrage, essays on literature and culture. He also accepted a position at Cornell University. Throughout his life, he has served as a spokesman against apartheid and government corruption. He has won numerous other awards for his work, including the Anisfield Wolf Book Award, the Academy of Achievement Golden Plate Award, and the Ajib Prize for Literature. And he has taught at many prestigious universities, including Emory University, Harvard, and Obafemi Awolowo University. In his lifetime, Soyinka has published 2 novels, 3 collections of short stories, made 3 movies, translated 2 novels, 5 memoirs.
Stay at TVC News, first with breaking news.
Hello, and thanks for joining us. So this is TVC News at 12. Following calls by the organized labor for a reversal of the electricity tariff for Band A customers to 225 naira per kilowatt hour, and that's from 68 naira per kilowatt hour on the 3rd of April, and a minor reduction by the National Electricity Regulatory Commission to 206 naira per kilowatt hour. Members of the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress today moved to group activities in some distribution companies. In Lagos State, Labour members blocked the entrance of the headquarters of the Ikeja Electricity Distribution Company, and offices of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission located in Lausa Ikeja were also picketed by the union members, leaving workers stranded. Lagos State chairperson of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Fumilayo Sesi, who led the union members, told TVC News that the action was in compliance with the directive of the Congress's National Secretariat. Labour leaders say the picketing exercise is aimed at forcing the authorities to reverse the recent hike in the country's electricity tariff. In Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, the union members occupied the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Office in Ibadan, carrying various placards with inscriptions asking government to reverse the policy. The chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress in Oyo State, Kayode Martins, while addressing newsmen, decried the epileptic state of power supply in the state, adding that increasing electricity tariffs at this critical time is unnecessary, given the current economic situation. The situation was the same in Oshogbo, Osun State, where members of the Nigerian Labour Congress were led by the state chairman, Abimbola Arakbashokpo, and his trade union counterpart, Abimbola Fasasi, to the IBEDC office there. They accused government of being insensitive to the plight of Nigerians. According to them, the current economic hardship arising from the removal of fuel subsidy should not be compounded with increase in electricity tariff, which they described as unbearable.
When we are not yet out of the suffering orchestrated by the removal of the fuel subsidy, we are now adding another burden onto our body. We are saying no to that as workers, and that is why we are here. We are making that statement loud, clear, and bold enough. There is hardship everywhere in the country. It is high time for the Nigerians to know that it is high time for us to fight for our rights. It is high time for the federal government to know that people are suffering in the country. We say no to high or increase of electricity tariff in this country, period, and that's it.
Now, for more on this move by the organized labor, senior correspondent Sharon Ijason joins me live from Ikeja, Lagos State. Sharon, this is one of the many issues raised by the organized labor. They had talked about minimum wage. They had talked about, at that time, fuel scarcity and then tariff hike for electricity. Talk to us about this particular activity of the labor union in Lagos State.
Well, you would remember that during the May Day celebration, which was May 1st by a week ago, that the organized labor reiterated its commitment towards ensuring that they protect the rights of workers and citizens. During the May Day celebration, organized labor announced that they were going to ground the economy of the country if the NERC, who is actually in charge of regulating the price of electricity tariff, does not reverse the price of the price from 225 to 65 naira per kilowatt per hour. So this has been a very busy morning here in Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria. And this particular activity, picketing exercise, is not just happening in Ikeja. It's happening in other parts of Lagos State. It's happening in Marina and other parts of the country, like you have actually read on air. For many of these workers, they remain resolute towards ensuring that this exercise continues until the regulatory body does the needful towards ensuring that workers have access to electricity at a decent price or cost.
And was there any response to members of the labor union by authorities of the IEDC? And then how long, is this expected to go on for?
Well, this picketing exercise will continue until the workers get a directive from the national body. Remember that this is just happening at the state level. In Abuja and another part of the country, this picketing exercise is actually ongoing, and the workers will continue to do this until they get another directive from organized labor. Their leaders, headed by Joe Ajero and Festus Osifo. So if there is no neck meeting, of course, this activity will continue to go on. If you look at where I'm standing now, you would see that I'm in front of Ikeja Electricity. You will see that the workers there are actually singing solidarity song. You would see that workers of IKDC are actually stranded, and they are actually seen trying to hang around the trees around. You will see that activities is not going on in this office, and you would know that if activities is not going on, it means that the organization will be losing money. For how long they'll be able to continue? For how long will the employers of labor continue to accept this? That I won't be able to answer. But it's the onus is now on the organized. Is now on the regulatory body NERC to do the needful, to make proper consultation, and perhaps make labor see reason on why maybe they have to retain that price, or they actually find a middle ground to ensure that business continues and also the workers and the citizen doesn't actually need to suffer.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for that update. Our senior correspondent Sharon Ijaso speaking to us live there at the headquarters of the IKEDC, where members of the labor union are picketing that office over the increase in electricity tariff. Let's now turn to other stories. The administration of President Bola Tinubu is steadfast in his commitment to restructuring Nigeria's communications and digital economy. This was highlighted at a leadership retreat organized for Galaxy Backbone Company staff in Abuja, where the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy expressed support for new ideas to grow the sector. Uloma Oyemachi reports.
Digital transformation has become a crucial part of any modern organization's success. Nigeria cannot be left out in this move, which is why Galaxy Backbone, a digital infrastructure and services company of the federal government, has organized this two-day leadership retreat. Day one saw the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy advise the participants on re-strategizing their restructuring plans with the government.
I encourage you as part of the government not to just listen to what's in the media, but to step back and look at the intentions and the programs of this government. There's no organization anywhere in the world today that can move or change anything significant in any society.
Speaking, the managing director of the Galaxy Backbone shares the objective of the retreat in hopes for a more influential digital space in Nigeria.
You're looking at a country like India, where they have a lot of digital talents that are being outsourced. If you look at some of the heads of the digital companies like Microsoft and a few others, they have Indian origin, and we're hoping Nigeria can get to that stage.
You see young children catching up, we are adapting fastly. You see a lot of Nigerians using a 5G phone or whatever, but we as Galaxy Backbone, we are creating a platform as an enabler of IT infrastructure in Nigeria.
Other stakeholders at the event also shared their thoughts.
The retreat has come sort of like broken the ice between us coming in new and those who are the legacy holders of the institution.
Digital transformation is a journey, right? So the journey in terms of what do we need in terms of technology, the processes, the people, the capabilities.
Highlight of the event was group presentations by participants.
Over 30 individuals have now been trained on the impact and essence of the new communication technologies, and it's expected that they take the gains of this training back to their regions and also include them in their personal encounters with other Nigerians so as to improve the communications industry across the country. Uloma Oyemachi, TVC News, Abuja.
That operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency have intercepted 3 trailer loads of opioids comprising more than 3 million pills and over 300,000 bottles of codeine syrup at Amuwodofin local government area of Lagos State. 3 suspects have been arrested in connection with the seizure. In another operation, NDLEA operatives also intercepted over 59,000 pills of tramadol and different quantities of codeine syrup and rohypnol in Adamawa State. In Edo State, the operatives arrested a suspect and destroyed a large quantity of cannabis on 3 farms. 2 persons, both above the age of 70, were arrested with about 22 kilograms of cannabis in Ekiti and Benue states during raid operations. And turning our attention to Adamawa State, where premium motor spirit worth more than 10 million naira has been intercepted by the Adamawa Taraba Area Command of the Nigeria Customs along Bele community, which borders Cameroon, in Maiha local government. Senior reporter Wolabi Adenusi filed in this report.
As fuel scarcity persists in Adamawa State, smugglers are not relenting in their efforts to take the products out of the shores of Nigeria. This Mitsubishi truck with a Cameroon registration number was loaded with jerrycans of fuel before it was intercepted at Nigeria-Cameroon border community in Adamawa State by the anti-smuggling unit of the customs.